2023 has been an amazing year for gaming, but it is over now, and that means we are now here for 2024. Now, I think a lot of people recognize that 2023 was amazing, not simply just because of all the games it released, but there were a lot of backlog games from 2021 and 2022 that got delayed to 2023, to no fault of anyone's own or anything like that, and that just stacked this year. So I think realistically, hopefully most people see this, 2024 is not going to be as crazy, but it could still be as good in terms of quality if we get certain things from certain people. Now, we have talked about this for PlayStation and we talked about this for Nintendo. It is now time to bring it on home and talk about it for Xbox. So if you haven't checked out those videos, check those out after this video, but we're gonna talk fully on Xbox here because there's a lot of stuff that I would love to see from Xbox personally, as someone who played a ton of Xbox back during the original Xbox and the 360 days. Unfortunately, I don't play it as much right now because, well, first off, I can just get it on PC, which is totally fine. It's still playing Xbox games, but they haven't really had a lot that I've wanted to play because it's just, you know, the third-party stuff is you can play that wherever you want. You just pick whatever platform you want to go onto. A lot of their first-party stuff just is either not hit as well, you know, looking at something like Redfall or Starfield, you know, it's always depending on personal choice. And then there's some other things that they kind of just let flow by the wayside and just, you know, not really done anything with. So it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? Especially now that they've acquired Activision Blizzard, it's like, okay, you have all your, you know, acquisitions and everything. Where are the games? And I have said this time and time again, regardless of what people will say in interviews and everything, the games are what make people jump into your system or your ecosystem, regardless if they go multi-platform. That's another video, top right corner, go check it out, description, all that kind of stuff. But we're not here to talk about that. I want to talk about what I would love to see from Xbox in 2024 and get me playing a lot more of their games, regardless if it's on my PC or anything like that. I'm trying to get an Xbox in Japan is almost next to impossible. You know, if you've ever seen the little shorts that we've put up, I literally went into a gaming store and it's like all this PC stuff, all this PlayStation stuff. Nintendo covered like half the room, and then Xbox is like back in the corner playing Where's Waldo, essentially. But regardless, I would love to download some games on Steam and everything like that, and just buy these games and support these teams and developers and everything. I would absolutely love to do that. So without further ado, I want to know your thoughts always in the comments. What do you want to see from Xbox? But let's get into it. Okay, so we know a few things coming out from Xbox in kind of early to mid 2024, kind of. We know things like Hellblade 2 is coming out. We know the next Fable is supposed to be coming out sometime in 2024. And we know Avowed is said to be released in 2024. The downside to all of this is that we just don't know the dates yet. Now, disclaimer right now, at the time of this recording, because it's the 9th of January when I'm recording this my time, is that there's supposed rumors that on the 14th or 15th next week, there's supposed to be the equivalent of an Xbox presentation / direct / state of play, whatever you want to call it, essentially, right? So if that is true and they actually get to show some stuff off and there's some release dates, you know, confirmed, especially for those 3 games I just announced, awesome. We can cut that right there and we just simply move on, right? Absolutely. But at the time of this recording, we just simply don't know. So just kind of keep an eye out for that news and everything. We'll update you guys, obviously, either in a pinned comment or with another video kind of covering everything that's talked about, all right? So obviously from all 3 of those games, I would love to see some stuff, especially Fable, because I feel like Fable, unfortunately, like they had that second trailer that looks like you can kind of tell where some of the gameplay sequences can be. It's kind of definitely more cinematic, especially like where the main character, I believe she like dodges the giant's hand or she's trying to run away and then she like throws the mousetrap at him and everything like that. That definitely screams something more along the lines of what you might actually see from Sony sometimes. And not to, again, take away from Xbox or anything like that, just simply that kind of sequence, I think. Seeing that in a trailer, sometimes, a lot of times people are just like, is that really gameplay or is that just a cinematic? Because as you know, with games over the last who knows how many years, we've all been burned, regardless of who it is, from certain games and how they look and everything like that. And it actually doesn't look like that at all. So it'd be really cool to see some, you know, Fable gameplay, you know, show the controller layouts on screen or, you know, whatever, you know, little things are at the bottom of the screen and everything like that for the game. That would be really cool. Kind of just bring people back on board with this because I know it's being made by the guys who made Forza and everything. And obviously those games look amazing. And if Fable looks like those trailers that we've seen already, then awesome. Right there. Let's see what they're cooking. It's been a while. Let's see if that 2024 can definitely happen right there. Hellblade 2, personally, for me, never really was a huge fan of Hellblade 1. It had some cool moments and everything, but some of the time-to-time gameplay, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. So maybe Hellblade 2 can change my mind. But if it's more of the same, then for those Hellblade fans, definitely is awesome right there. And then Avowed, I feel like they've done some mixed messaging, like not in the typical sense. Stop it. Those, comment people. I'm more talking about like the tone of the game and everything like that, because they've gone more for, instead of showing what Avowed is known for in terms of, different branching stories and everything like that, and mostly focusing on the gameplay, which, it's some people, that's an absolute really cool part of, what they like about Avowed and those type of games is the gameplay. But I feel like their strengths are more in their storytelling. So maybe we'll get to see some kind of story without too many spoilers, and there's some kind of trailer upcoming soon. Not really sure, but it'd definitely be really cool. Now, moving away from what we know, and again, what I would personally love to see, the first thing I have to talk about, which is kind of an oldie but a classic, Gears of War. But where is it? I would love to either see a new Gears of War, or maybe like a complete remake of the very first Gears of War or something like that. I feel like Gears of War has been ignored long enough, and we need to see something potentially. There was some rumor about the first 3 games, I think, as some kind of remaster or something, but then it never was actually showed or anything like that. So again, either bad rumor, or they put it on the the chopping board for that particular moment and have pushed it off into 2024 maybe. I'm not really sure. But I would personally love to see something from Gears of War. I loved playing the original few games in the beginning when they came out, and I got to play them on my friend's Xbox, and I played on my friend's Xbox 360. I could only afford one console growing up, and I had to pay for everything when it came to gaming. So it was like, okay, fine. I know my friend has an Xbox. I know this friend has a PlayStation console or a Nintendo console, so I'll buy the third one, and we can all kind of share and all that kind of stuff, right? So I would love to see something from Gears of War. I don't know exactly if anyone's actually working on it. I know the original developers are most likely not there anymore, but it'd be really cool to see something from Xbox in terms of the Gears of War franchise, whatever that may be. I'm not really sure. Or heck, I don't know if it would work out the greatest, but maybe have the feel kind of similar to what Darksiders did, if you remember that series a while ago, where they do more of like a top-down game where you kind of run around shooting all these enemies and everything like that. I know it's not exactly what most people would want to see, but maybe it's a cool little side game to kind of keep the franchise in people's minds and everything until the next, action, third-person game officially releases and everything. I think that'd be pretty cool, and I'm definitely hope we get to see at least some kind of teaser in 2024, and maybe a release in 2025. All right, this next part, I really wanted to talk about Halo, just to kind of get the big obvious ones out of the way, but we already know Halo Infinite is the main Halo game that they're working on, and we know there's not going to be any story DLC, unfortunately. They've kind of just put that, I don't know if it's into the trash bin technically, but they're not touching it for quite some time. And while I think Halo's actually finally had some good updates, and because the gameplay's always been awesome for Halo Infinite. I played the moment that game released in beta, and I have always loved going on and playing Halo Infinite with my friend Lemon. We've even done a few streams on it here on the channel, but there are a few things when it comes to Halo Infinite that is still holding it back. First off, finding a game can be really long sometimes. I'm talking really long. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because you log in and you start searching for a game, and there's that one person who's still on an old hard drive, and you have to wait for them to load in while everyone else is already loaded on their SSD or their M.2s. Not really sure, but there's still a lot of loading in there. The menu is an absolute mess still. Trying to find certain modes or certain maps or anything is an absolute mess. You try to scroll down this gigantic list of things. Absolutely terrible. They need to fix that still. And then finally, obviously, the progression system. Take a page out, not everything. Take a page out of the finals books and have an actual good progression system. I know it's better than when it released. That's not saying much. I'm just saying, because Halo should be like your flagship first-person shooter, doing super well, pulling in numbers and everything. And unfortunately, it's not just it. I know it's gotten a lot better, and I've jumped back into the game here and there, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And unfortunately, I would love to sit here and go, yeah, new story DLC and everything in 2024. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's happening. So as much as I'd love to say, and hey, if it happens, I'll be surprised, but I'm just not seeing it right there. All right, next thing I want to talk about coming from Microsoft is I'm kind of grouping this all into one bit here, and that is what they're going to be doing with they're Activision games. They just got Activision and King, I believe, King Crush or King Candy or whatever the little mobile division is. But I know whatever section of that, they're going to work on mobile stuff. I don't give two shits about mobile stuff, okay? I'm talking about the games here, man. The games from Activision and Blizzard and all that stuff. Now, I already know what they're going to focus on for, you know, just because business and everything. Their first main priority is going to be the live service stuff. Overwatch and Call of Duty. Again, Overwatch, you know, I would love to see it where they just say, Overwatch, here's the money Activision want to give you. Give us that PvE mode that you've been wanting to make for some time. Unfortunately, I don't personally see it happening, but I would love to be proven wrong and if that could actually happen. Call of Duty is whatever, Call of Duty. They're going to keep pushing those games out every year, you know, regardless of what people say and whatever. That's just going to keep happening and everything like that. But I want to know what's happening with some of the other franchises and everything. Are we going to see potentially a new Tony Hawk game? Are we going to see anything from Crash Bandicoot? Which is still weird to say sometimes when it's like, wait, Crash Bandicoot was originally on PlayStation, but now it's technically owned by Xbox. And it's always funny to kind of see that stuff. So I would love to see somebody from those teams and everything. I know Phil talked about in some podcasts last year that he's interested in bringing things like Guitar Hero and everything, which, don't get me wrong, Guitar Hero was really fun back in the days, but looking at it from, I guess, a logical standpoint, which I know a lot of people don't like watching videos like that when it comes to talking about that kind of stuff, but do you know how expensive it is to get music rights for games and just things in general? Like, that costs a lot of money, not to mention the fact that you'd have to buy the instruments that would go with a game like that, right? I doubt they could have the old ones from 2006 and on working on a game in 2024/2025, depending on when a game like that could potentially come out. And then on top of that, you're trying to also put that on Game Pass, which again, we've talked about in the top right video there when it comes to, you know, are they going to go multi-platform and everything like that? And I don't think it's sustainable because a lot of gamers, you know, as good as Xbox Game Pass is for indie games and, you know, the deals for us gamers and everything, it's not as sustainable as a lot of people think when it comes to revenue and everything. And Xbox is either going to have to really up the price and everything, or they're going to have to start putting certain games that where you have to buy them and it will only go to Game Pass later on. I know people don't want to hear that and everything, but unless they're somehow able to find a way to really increase their numbers and everything like that and really rake in the revenue, because again, they're a business, that's what they have to do. And they just paid, oh yeah, what was it? $70 billion for Activision? They got to start bringing in some money. So I don't know what's going to happen. I doubt we'll see something like Guitar Hero or anything like that. But I would love to see something from Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk, anything like that that's under that Activision umbrella. And so hoping they'll show something like that. And I know it's most likely not going to happen due to Marvel and all this kind of stuff, but can we get the original Origins Wolverine game? I'd love to see that game pop up again because it's been delisted for quite a while and unfortunately you can't buy it anymore. And I know it was a simple game, but I loved playing that game. I'd love to see that on the Xbox. It'd be really cool. I'd download it. I'd buy it, no problem. And the final thing I want to talk about before wrapping up with Xbox in 2024/beginning of 2025 is more Square Enix games. Now, I know it's kind of a meme here when it comes to Xbox and Square Enix and do they work together? Do they not work together and everything? And we've started to see that they are starting to in some way. It seems Xbox has kind of loosened the chain on the terms of their servers and everything when it came to something like Final Fantasy 14. That is officially going into beta, I believe, either at the end of January or beginning of February on Xbox, and it's going to release. So awesome. Xbox finally gets Final Fantasy 14, which is all cool and everything. But unfortunately, I don't know how Square Enix really looks at Xbox or how their deals go and everything. Because, like, I know they'll say one thing at something like Tokyo Game Show and everything, and, you know, they'll shaking hands with, like, developers of Final Fantasy 14 and everything. But the truth of the matter is that Final Fantasy games or just Square Enix games in general sell better on either Nintendo or on Sony's platforms. Because, again, they're all Japanese companies and everything like that. And if you know anything about Japanese companies and everything, they prefer to do business with locals compared to international and everything. We've covered that in an entire video. I talked about it months ago, but it's still relevant to this day. I even see it in my own personal workplace where I teach for my day job. I see it all the time. So it made perfect sense to me as to why we don't see as many Square Enix games on Xbox systems. So I don't know if maybe Phil needs to come to the table again and be like, okay, look, we've had like these particular situations and our standards here that we want to meet, and you've had this and we have not been able to meet in the middle. Maybe now we can. I don't know if maybe that's not putting it onto Game Pass, which I know a lot of gamers would love to see some of those games on Game Pass and everything. But Square Enix as a publisher, they don't like Game Pass. They really don't. And I don't know if that means that we'll never see some of these games on Xbox, because Xbox is like, nope, you got to put it on Game Pass. And they're like, nope, sucks to be you, but you're not getting our games and everything. I'm not really sure. I know obviously Sony does their thing with certain games like Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I know 16 is technically exclusive right now, but that PC port is coming. So could we finally see it on Xbox as well? I'm not really sure. There have been ups and downs in terms of what's been talked about with this, but I don't know if the Series S is potentially a reason that something like that is not going on there. You know, the lowest hardware that can definitely hold things back sometimes, you know, regardless of how good of a purchase it can be. There's a lot of things that the S has definitely held back, although to be fair, Xbox finally kind of loosened that whole, it has to be on X and S. It finally loosened it a little bit for Baldur's Gate. But could we potentially see some other ones for games? I'm hoping, but I'm not really sure. But honestly, I would love to see more Square Enix games on Xbox. I think as long as the Xbox players are willing to buy the games and support those games and not just simply say, I'll wait for Game Pass all the time, that would show support. And I think that would then eventually down the road maybe lead some of these games, or especially some of these older games, to then get onto Game Pass and everything. Because I can guarantee you right now, you're not going to get the brand new games on something like Game Pass. It's just not going to happen. But the older games, if you show your support for something like Square Enix, if they took a chance and said, okay, look, you know what, fine, Final Fantasy 16, we're putting it on Xbox, let's see if you guys buy it or not, and you guys buy it, and then they put the older Final Fantasy games on something like Game Pass to then promote something for, I don't know, Final Fantasy 17, for example, take it, go with it. I think that'd be really cool. But I would love to see something more from Square Enix besides Final Fantasy 14, because we've already known about that since last year, and it's already 2024. So here's hoping we see something like that. But regardless, I know this list wasn't exactly original. I know I didn't bring anything up from Bethesda or anything. I'm personally not a big Bethesda guy. There are other content creators who definitely cover that a lot more than I do. But it would be really cool to see some of these particular, teams make things for Xbox or bring certain things from the other consoles onto Xbox and everything like that. I would absolutely love to see that. Obviously, all of the indie games that we talked about from, well, I'd say mostly on Sony's side, but also some from Nintendo, that obviously applies to Xbox as well, but we already know those are going to as many platforms as you possibly can play on. So I'm not worried about that right there. That's why I didn't really talk about them or anything. But here's hoping that Xbox can have a really cool year. Because again, when you have competition between all of these guys, that's better for us gamers. When there's only one that does really good and the others don't do as well, it sucks. So more competition, everyone wins. I would love to see it. So, but what are your personal thoughts? What do you want to see from Xbox when it comes to 2024? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. And again, if you haven't seen what we talked about with Xbox in terms of multi-platform stuff, go check the top right corner. Some fanboys are really, really mad. But anyway, I've been Tallen with Direct Gaming. Thank you so much for joining us in today's video. I hope you have an awesome day and an awesome week, and here's to an awesome 2024. I can't wait to see all your comments down below, and I'll try to answer as many as I possibly can. But until next time, everyone, I will see you all in the next one. Johnny.